I need to sit in order to make sure I don't?
Maybe a little closer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then I have this also for backup because I got to transcribe. Fun stuff. You went to Chapman, so you,
Oh, yeah.
you know how it goes. All right, cool. So I'm so glad we finally get a chance to catch up.
Yeah.
I know you've been really busy. You're a new mom. Well, not a new mom, but
Right,
you have a
second time new mom.
Yes, exactly. And on top of it, you're an author, you're an actress, and overall just a powerful woman.
It's only until recently that I've sort of kind of come into my own power, and I think that happens for a lot of women, like late 20s, you kind of go, I have a lot more strength than I realized.
Exactly, because now you're 28, your birthday's coming
Yeah, 28, I'll be 29 in January, and growing up, I don't think a lot of women really realize their own strength and their own power. It kind of takes some, figuring out trial and tribulation, all that
Exactly, that's what I feel like your 20s is all about. And
yeah,
then
definitely.
You kind of come into your own. What was your childhood like growing up?
My childhood, obviously I was on Full House, but besides that was pretty normal. I was on a TV show, but my family was, I was an only child. My dad worked, my mom, went to the set with me every day. And, outside of being on Full House, my life was really normal. I went to public school.
Right.
I had normal friends. It was as normal as it could be given, the circumstance.
Absolutely. Right. And that's what I found really interesting was how your parents try to keep it as normal as possible.
Very much so.
You experienced some bullying at an early age. I read about that.
Yeah, I think every kid to some degree experiences some sort of bullying for whatever reason. Like that's part of school and school-age kids and high school and all of that. Everyone's kind of pecking at each other. That's just what kids do.
Exactly.
And anything that makes you different or sets you apart from the normal kids, they're gonna pick on you for it. And so even though all these kids, most of them were probably watching Full House, every Friday night, to have the person that's on the show in their classroom on a daily basis was weird. So, while they might love the show, they would be like, oh, well, I don't like you. And for whatever reason, just because you're different or because they were jealous or, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Or they would want to be your best friend and, want to be with you all the time, and it would be strange because you knew that they really didn't care about anything else but the fact that they liked your show.
So it's hard to kind of find sincere friendships.
Exactly.
Wow, yeah. And now also, do you feel that for your daughters, you would allow them that experience if they came to you and said, Mom, I want to be in show business?
It's a hard one. My mom has said before, she's like, I don't know if maybe you were too young when you got into it, but I enjoyed it. I loved what I did. I love what I do. But growing up that way as a kid on a television show, Full House was a really warm set. We had great family on that show.
Right.
Not only the cast, but the crew as well. So, if they wanted to do it, I don't know if that experience could be recreated. I don't know if, they would be able to find such a family environment. So that would kind of make me nervous, but, I'm also torn as a mom to, I always want to, encourage their creativity in whatever it is that they want to do. So, I don't know. It's a hard decision as a mom to be like, this is what you really want, I want to support you, but at the same time, I don't know how much I want to.
It's a tough balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and how's your life changed since becoming a mom, first with Zoe and then now having Beatrice?
God, in every way possible. You know what though, that's not necessarily true. It's changed a lot. It's made me obviously more responsible, more selfless. I don't think of myself first. I go shopping and I feel guilt over buying myself shoes if I'm not buying, things like that. As a mom, you're like, I don't need these shoes, but the kids need 5 new outfits, when they really don't. But, things like that.
Clothes for kids.
Exactly. I avoid that. I'm like Target, because they're going to grow out of it in a month.
Right.
But you as a mom, you just find that you put them first, and I finally get what it is as a parent. My mom would always say to me, I enjoy watching you so much more than doing anything for myself. As if I was having fun, my mom was ecstatic. And I was like, as a kid, you're like, that sucks. You're like, I'm not gonna get anything fun out of watching somebody else. I want to be the one having a good time. And now, I absolutely get that. I take my daughter to Disneyland and I watch her little face light up in the tiki room. or whatever it is.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, and I'm like, oh my God, I totally get what it is now to be a mom, and I could care less what I'm doing. Watching her light up is the best.
Wow.
So that, I mean, those sorts of things really become much more apparent when you become a mom, that it's somebody else's joy. And also, I do take time for me, and I tried not to lose myself in becoming a mom. I think a lot of women do that, and a lot of women feel like, well, now that they're a mom, they have to give up everything about themselves, give up, taking time for themselves, whether it be getting their nails done or their hair done, or making sure that they have time with their partner, or whatever it is. I try to be selfish a little bit in that way, in, making sure that I'm taken care of, because I think that ultimately, if you're a happy mom and you treat yourself well, that you're going to be a happier member of the family,
Exactly. It trickles down.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's really cute. I got really touched by reading the last, the letter to Zoe.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's so touching.
Thank you.
I mean, how did you find the time, speaking of being a new mother and everything, with writing the book?
I was really lucky. I worked with a writer, John Warwick, who actually has been a friend of mine for a while. And, he and I...
Thank you.
He and I had been friends probably 2 or 3 years before we actually started working on the book. And, he approached me and was like, I have a friend who's a literary agent and would love to do a book. And so I started working with him, and, it was great. I mean, he was really encouraging and really comfortable as far as sort of divulging all of my secrets. And so, we would sit together and we'd meet and do these interviews for, 3 or 4 hours at a time, and then he would write and then I'd read. So it took a while. I mean, but as far as books go, we did it pretty quickly. It was maybe 8 or 9 months of interviews, writing, editing, sending it to the publisher, getting it back, doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I definitely, he was amazing and really stuck to, the interviews as true as that. I mean, a lot of it is word for word, interviews that he just sort of transcribed and put into writing. Because if I were to write it, I'd be all over it. So he organized my thoughts.
There you go, perfect.
Yeah.
I know, I need a little organization myself
Yeah.
in my life. So I think what was really cool about your book is that you were so candid and open, and I think that takes a lot of courage.
Thanks.
So it must have been tough.
You know what it was? I think the hardest part about it was when, the day before the book was coming out, and I was doing an interview on the Today Show, and it was all of a sudden that moment of okay, you know what? Yeah, I've been writing this book and we've been working on it, but oh my God, people are going to read it, and now they're going to ask me questions about it, and now it's out there. Everything is out there, because I was really honest in the book. I was really candid, because I felt what's the point of writing the book if I'm not going to just be out there with everything? That would, you know what I mean?
It defeats the purpose.
Right,
of your
exactly.
memoir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's my memoir. I mean, these are the stories that people have been wanting to know, that I have sort of been keeping to myself, and I was like, you know what? If I'm not going to put it all out there, what's the point? Yeah. So the scariest part, I think, was the night before, when I was like, oh my God, I'm going on the Today Show, and Matt Lauer's going to be asking me questions about, the things that I talk about and all the stuff in the book, and why did I write this, and why did I put that, and oh my God, what are people going to think? And once it came out and once the book was out, it was a relief. It was oh, well, now all that's out there. There's now what? There's nothing scary. There's nothing I'm hiding from. It's just out there. That's my life. My life is very different now, but it's part of my story. It's part of who I was and how I got to be who I am. So, I don't hide from any of it, and I'm not ashamed of it. So.
Right, and that's why I feel that you're so empowered. I think because you're able to overcome such a huge obstacle that you talk about in your book.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even begin to? I know you hit a rock bottom place for you.
I think once you get to whatever bottom it is that you need to reach, you can really only go up. It can only get better.
That's true.
So for me, I think really getting to that place of sort of being emotionally bankrupt and really feeling alone in myself, even though I wasn't, I had family and I had friends and I had people. It took really getting to that place for me before I was able to sort of find my own, I guess, you were talking about find my own power and sort of build everything back up from there.
Exactly.
And in doing all that, I really did find out how strong I am. And it took a lot. There were a lot of times when I was like, I can't do this. This is just, whatever emotion I was going through, or throughout the last divorce and all that stuff. There was a lot of really emotionally painful stuff going on that, as I went through it and found out that I could do it and I could make it through, gave me power. And I was like, you know what, I'm a lot stronger than I realized I was. Like, I can do this. There's not this is not going to break me, and I can do this.
And that's where I felt so much emotion from reading your story, and it was so compelling to me. That's why I'm so excited to be having this face-to-face talk with you. How do you define a powerful woman?
It's interesting. A powerful woman has changed for me over the years. When I was young and in high school and stuff, and even in my early 20s, to me, a powerful woman was somebody who could get everyone else to do what they wanted. And as I grew up and got a little more mature, I realized that power has nothing to do with the external world that you live in. It has nothing to do with how other people react to you. It really is an internal thing. It really is how you feel in your own skin, and how you feel when you wake up in the morning, and when you're sort of going throughout your daily life. Like, I can walk into a room now and I don't feel small. I don't feel, that also is not to say that I feel, there's some grandiose sense of personality. I feel right-sized in my own skin. And I think that really is sort of a powerful woman to me, is somebody that is confident in themselves, in their decisions, in their relationships, that doesn't need too much validation from other people, but that is willing to, listen to when other people might say, you're wrong. And I think a lot of times power is mistaken for, almost a bully. I mean, I think a lot of people think that in order to be powerful, you have to be mean, or you have to be overbearing, or, overly confident or arrogant. And that's not it at all. I think power is sort of sitting it within yourself and knowing that you're okay.
Did you find that being now you've grown to become this powerful woman, it's affected your love relationships? Do you find that men are more intimidated by this newfound confidence?
My partner right now, Morty, is amazing, and I think and he's told me part of what attracted him to me was my confidence and my intelligence and things like that I had sort of hid from before. I was, I didn't want to be, too smart, or I didn't want to, you know what I mean?
You're reading at the 5th grade level.
Yeah, I was always, that's the thing, and I'm not afraid to say that now. I was a smart kid, and I'm still smart, I'm intelligent, I have a degree, I've gone to school, like, that no longer sounds arrogant to me, and I think that's part of it too. Being a powerful woman is being able to say, you know what, yeah, I'm smart, and I'm accomplished, and I'm well read, and these are the things that I like or that I don't like, and not feeling that you have to hide those things. And in relationships, a lot of times I sort of dimmed myself so that I wouldn't feel like I was outshining the other person, and I would find ways to make myself small in a relationship. And now I don't have to be. I can be an equal with him, and I don't have to be bigger than or less than. I am an equal, and I bring that to the table, and I think that is really attractive to healthy people. You know what I mean? I think a lot of relationships that are unhealthy are out of balance. One person is in control, or is giving the other person all the control. I think there's an imbalance in that, and I think in healthy, strong relationships between two people who are powerful and confident, there's an equality there, and that absolutely is what I have now, what I found.
I'm so happy for you. Do you feel that makes you a feminist because you believe in the balance of power for equal rights for women?
I think the word feminist over the years has become sort of a negative connotation, and I think that's unfortunate, because I think that being a powerful woman also doesn't mean that you don't like someone to do nice things for you. I think that, feminists over the years, people now see, feminists as, you know, okay, well, don't open the doors for me, don't pay for my dinner, don't treat me like a woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you less of an equal. That doesn't mean that, you're not smart and intelligent and shouldn't get paid the same as men and shouldn't, have the same opportunities and ability to do the same things as men. I think that, it's sort of sad that over the years, if you want that for women, that you're seen as, sort of almost butch or like too manly. It's like that's, I don't consider myself that. I consider myself a woman that, is secure and smart and all of that. But I also like to be treated like a girl, that's fun. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think those two things can sort of coexist.
So note to guys, pay the bill, right? For dinner, get the tab.
And that's been hard for me. That's been something that I've had to learn in this relationship, is to let it be okay to let someone take care of you sometimes. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that I rely on them. It doesn't mean that I'm overly dependent upon them. But if somebody wants to do something for me, if my boyfriend wants to take me out somewhere or, pay one of the bills or do something, it's been hard for me to let go of that control, because I feel like if I do, that somehow I'm not self-sufficient.
Right.
And that somehow I'm failing myself, or I'm letting myself down because I can't take care of everything. Mm-hmm. And that I've had to let go of that ideal and realize that asking for help or letting someone do something for you doesn't make you weak.
Yes.
You can still be confident and self-sufficient and all of that, and let somebody do something for you. Exactly. So, and that's been hard for me to to realize that, maybe I don't have to buy everything or do everything or take care of everything, that it can be shared.
And it's tough for, I think, women, we kind of are socialized to be the caretaker. And from when I read your book, I kind of got the sense that that was your persona, that you wanted to, or maybe it was, like you said, to be self-sufficient. But
right. I think it was to be self-sufficient, and it also, like I said, my old idea of powerful women was control. So if I was paying for everything and doing everything, and I owned the house and the car and the this and the that somehow I was in control, and everybody, and it was sort of a selfish thing, because then if I was paying for everything, then you had to play my game. Mm-hmm. And I could, I could buy my way out of a problem, and I could fix it, and everything would be fine. But that didn't require me to really interact with anybody and to, sort of have a relationship. It was all very one-sided, and it had a lot to do with, okay, well, I can give it or I can take it away.
I almost feel like it was reversed, like you think of the male typically paying for everything, and they want to be in control.
Right, and I think a lot of that, strangely enough, came from insecurity, mm-hmm. as opposed to really being confident. It was, well, if I can just pay for everything, then I'll be okay.
Interesting, because it's interesting you say that, because I think, well, does that mean that the men who act out this role are more insecure?
Right, I think that can be. I mean, I think that a lot of times that can happen, and yet I think sometimes, I think for men it sometimes is different, because I think that they are conditioned to be the provider, mm-hmm. and so that's seen as, well, I have to provide and I have to take care of it. If I'm not, then I'm less of a man. And for women, if I'm not being and now with the whole idea of women working and all of that, if I'm not an excellent mom and a perfect wife, and also earning just as much as a man and working 60 hours a week, and if I'm not doing all three of those perfectly, then somehow I'm less of a competent woman.
Exactly.
And that's not necessarily true.
When in reality, as you know, being a mom is a full-time job.
Absolutely, it's absolutely a full-time job, and it takes a lot of my boyfriend and I are very lucky in that he's a DJ, and he works at night, so a lot of his gigs and stuff like that, and he's also a singer, a songwriter. He can sort of work his schedule around mine. So if I need to be out doing something, he can watch the kids, and and we work together like that. But that isn't the case for a lot of people. So I think that it sets you up. Especially a lot of women, it sets them up to feel like a failure if they have to put their child in daycare, or if they're not home with them all the time and can't provide for them. Financially, I think there's a lot of conflict there.
Right, because you came from a traditional parents.
Right,
basically.
right. I mean, my mom, her job was me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, although that meant going to the set and traveling with me and sort of handling all of that and being, my manager, I guess you could say. She was still with me.
Yes.
And, my dad went and worked outside of the house. So, that was, as untraditional as my upbringing was, I still was, very close to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I also was an only child, so I don't know how that might have changed things, Having 2 kids now myself, it's sort of uncharted territory for me. I'm like, siblings. I've never done siblings. I don't know what,
So how's Zoe adapting to the new baby?
She's been great. She's been really, really, she's really excited about it. And, because I do share custody with her dad, I feel like maybe there are times that she still feels like she gets just some one-on-one attention with dad. And then she comes back. But I think, she has adjusted really well to the new baby. And, she's at an age now, 2.5, where she wants to help and, hand me the diapers and put the bottle in the sink and do all that kind of stuff. So it's been a pretty easy adjustment.
And growing up, did you have any strong influences in your life that you would consider to be a powerful woman figure?
I was really fortunate. I mean, my mom, obviously, and I were really close. And, it's funny because my mom's very emotional and she is sort of, a very typical female as far as she really likes the girly things and she's emotional and she likes the girly movies and all that kind of stuff. And I was never like that. I was sort of the opposite. I was like, even to this day, I mean, you can't drag me to a romantic comedy. But, I used to be like, oh, my mom said this, my mom said that. And now I really admire those parts of my mom that, I used to distance myself so far from. So she was, obviously my biggest female role model. But I had on the set, I had a lot of really powerful women, studio teachers who, were really, that I really admired, that looked out for me. Even wardrobe ladies that, were dancers when they were young and then worked in, in all these different films and things like that I really admired. I mean, I was surrounded by a lot of women who, were powerful and not, but not overbearing, but
not
really,
in the traditional
exactly,
sense
not in the traditional sense of powerful, but who I really grew up and admired and still to this day think of as some very positive influences in my life.
When we watch you on Full House, it's like, wow, she has this perfect, lifestyle, everything's great, and then, we read your story and we get a really good glimpse into your life and behind the scenes. Do you have any regrets that you feel like if you could go back in time, you would not have done it at all? Because I know those things do help you, mistakes do help you to make you who you are, so
there were, the only things that I regret are some mistakes that I made when Zoe was first born, before I got sober for this last time. December of 2008 is when I got sober, 2 years and a couple weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you. But,
toast to that.
Yeah, I know, right? But, there were a couple things that I wish that I could go back and change as far as that, because, I've grown a lot as a person and as a mom. But, even those things, those are some of the things that really got me to a place of changing everything. And, looking back on, from the time that I started, sort of experimenting with drugs and alcohol and that kind of stuff, I did a lot of stupid things. I mean, I think, who doesn't when they're drinking and using, but I really don't think I would go back and change anything. I really don't. I mean, and you know what? To be honest, there were some fun times. Like, there were some good times in there. There were some really awful times in there as well, but I wouldn't go back and rewrite anything. Even some of the things that I'm like, oh, it's like the biggest mistake ever. It sounds so cliche, but those have been the biggest lessons of my life. And a lot of times it was sort of, when I look at it, the same mistake over and over and over again, just in different forms, or the same relationship but with different people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And those are the sorts of things that I went, okay, so this is my lesson to learn. Like, and I really had to step back and take a look at it and go, okay, what am I supposed to learn out of this? Because obviously I've been doing this over and over and over again. There's something in here that I need to change.
Exactly, which it seems like you were able to change your friends because you finally, I think, found a great friend in Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, I had to absolutely shift my entire world around, and a lot of times it's hard to do that, and I think a lot of people are afraid to let go of everything because they're afraid of what people are going to think or what. And it finally came down to, okay, I either have to change everything or I'm going to keep doing this.
Yes.
And I now have really surrounded myself with a lot of wonderful people. I mean, Jeff, my friend that I met, a few years ago, who unfortunately passed away. I was really lucky to have him in my life, and it was things like that that made me see that I could have friends who were giving and loving and warm and open without without them expecting anything from me in return.
Yes.
And little things like that over the years that I finally learned that really opened me up to having quality friends and quality relationships now, and learning how to be a friend myself. And I think that that's something that I didn't know how to do before.
So what would you say your motto is that you live by?
My motto that I live by, really, truly, what it would be is don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
It's all small stuff, right?
Absolutely.
There's a book out, I think, called...
There is, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's so cheesy, but really, I am a person who very much sort of lets go of everything. I mean, there's, I look at it and I go, is this really that big a deal? No, in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. And I try and just focus on the big stuff and the important things and let everything else go.
It's a great way to look at things.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, is there anything that, for women who want to get into acting, who want to enter that room, is there something advice that you would give them? What would you say to them?
I would say to not give up and not let other people determine your self-worth, because that's, I think, really hard in this business, because it is so much based on looks and the facade and the outside and what people think about you upon first impression. And I think that you can easily fall into letting that be who you are, and there's so much more than that. And when you go in and you audition and you hear no and you hear no and you hear no over and over and over again, it's really easy to start feeling like you're not good, or you're not worth it, or this is, it's too hard, or you're just not good at something, or you're a failure. And if this is what you love and what you want to do, you keep at it and you keep going and you keep auditioning and you keep taking classes and you do whatever it takes, and you don't let other people tell you that you're bad or you're not worth it, because you are. And you know what? This is a business that it comes and it goes. I mean, sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
And you just keep doing it if it's what you love.
What would you say is your greatest accomplishment to date?
Oh, my daughters, most definitely.
Yes.
Like that, definitely. My daughters and my sobriety for sure.
That's great.
Yeah. So I mean, because without that, I wouldn't have sort of the life that I have today.
Which you're doing great.
Yeah.
Your family is healthy. You have a beautiful family.
They're amazing. Yeah, really wonderful.
Well, I won't take too much more of your time. I know you've got to get back to
I do.
But thank you so much, Jodie.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's
It was
always
a pleasure.
great. Yes, thank you for catching up with me today.
Of course.
And everyone can pick up your book. Unsweeten's been out for a year now, and
Yes.
it's got some great reviews.
Yeah,
I
it's-
really enjoyed reading it.
Thank you so much. I mean, a lot of people that have read it said it's like a really. They started it and like finished it and they loved it. And
Yes,
it's
it's
really-
just a page turn. You just want
Yeah.
to keep reading.
that means a lot to me. So I'm glad people
Great.
enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stop that. Thank you again. I
Oh, of
appreciate
course.
that.